YouTube. So today I'd like to cover part 3 of my linear equations program for you guys to revise equations of lines. And so this is a very short one to explain some of the problems that you may face when a question is asking you to find perpendicular lines in the equation of what we call the normal to a line. So sometimes you'll be asked to find the normal, and the normal means the line that comes at a 90-degree angle to a line that you already have. So if a line is going up like this, the normal is going to be like that. If a line is a little bit less steep, then the normal is going to be like this. So they're really coming at a 90-degree angle to each other, and they have one very unique property which has to do with the gradient, of course, because the incline of the line is going to have a direct impact on the gradient of the normal line, since they're at a 90-degree angle to one another. So if you think about the line that we've been studying in the last few videos, which is a line with a gradient of 2, something that goes up by 2 when it goes across by 1, well, a normal to that will have a gradient of -1/2. So again, the property that they have is that they're perpendicular to each other. They make a 90-degree angle. Now, how do we know that it's -1/2? Well, this is what we call the negative reciprocal of the number 2. So what's the negative reciprocal? Well, let's talk about negative. Well, if 2 is positive, -2 is negative. So you just put a minus in front of it. If it's a negative line, a line that goes down, the 90-degree line is going to go up. So most likely, if it's a positive line, the negative reciprocal will be a negative line. So if it's a line that goes up, the 90-degree line will go down. And vice versa. If it's a line that goes down, the other line will go up. So necessarily, you need to make it a negative or put a minus in front of it. And the reciprocal, well, that's very much like when you talk about dividing a fraction by a fraction, and you have to flip it around. So, for example, the reciprocal of 2 is 1/2. And so for perpendicular lines, the reciprocal of a fraction like 2/3 is going to be 3/2. So perpendicular line to a line with a gradient of 2/3 would be a line with a gradient of -3/2. So minus because it's negative, and then 3/2 because that's the reciprocal of 2/3. If you have a whole number like 5, well, the inverse of 5 is 1/5. So the negative reciprocal of 5 is going to be -1/5. So if you have a line with a gradient of 5, a perpendicular line will have a gradient of -1/5. Now, if you bear that in mind, every time you have a question of that type, you'll be able to do it and find the gradient of the perpendicular line immediately. Now, we'll approach some problems with that when we solve some IGCSE papers, but as far as understanding what the idea is, then this is it. Okay, so for perpendicular lines, negative reciprocal or the negative inverse. So you flip it around and you put a minus in front of it, and that gives you a gradient for a perpendicular line. Now, if that was useful to you, make sure that you subscribe to our channel and that you follow us. You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/HL Mathemagic, or on Instagram @MathemagicMD. Thank you so much. Here's a terrible math joke for you. And I'll see you next time.